This was a 2019 trip to Cuba that was organized by Rhodes Scholar. The trip took us from the east to the west, from Camagüey through Trinidad, Cienfuegos in the center of the island, and ended up in Havana. We landed in the Camagüey International Airport. We were transported by our bus, and we were greeted that evening with a spectacular musical presentation, which I didn't understand, but it gave us an opportunity to both see a beautiful presentation with excellent service and the lit streets of Camagüey at night. We visited the Casanova ceramicists. They were famous for making these large pots. Gail was helping them in the ceramicist studio. They were giving us a demonstration on making pots. This is a family operation, father and son. I think they do very nicely economically. They have income from these tours and also from selling pots that they make. Here's Gail doing some work on an assemblage. Very nice. I'm sure it's going to be very valuable. Here are some street scenes of Camagüey.
The other way, you can't move too much.
And we got the photographer, the cinematographer straightened out. This is the Zaragonzono ranch. It was in the family for several generations. It's self-sufficient. The father is an architect and the son is a veterinarian, but they need this cattle ranch to support themselves. The ranch was originally 10 times as big and was reduced when there was a reform, land reform. The picnic was excellent. This is their car. This is a food distribution center. It serves several hundred families. They distribute rice, beans, and other food products for a small amount of money. They're in close communication with health services so that their monthly food allotment can be adjusted. The Teatro Principal, we saw a rehearsal for the ballet. These ballet dancers are trained. The best ones are sent to other countries where they receive a percentage of their salary. The rest of it goes to Cuba. And those contracts go for 2 years or 5 years. There was nobody, essentially nobody in the theater for the performance that evening. The dance isn't that popular. And the theater was decrepit, falling apart. Those are the back of the seats, they were rotting. The name of this sculpture is Women Chatting. We have some very live action. This is the studio of Martha Jimenez. She does some very nice work, very colorful. We picked up a silk screen.
Okay, thank you.
This was a typical lunch, food and music. In this case, the two performers were professors at the local university, but they needed to support themselves, so they sang. Their salaries at the university were minuscule compared to the amount of money they could earn singing. This gentleman is a craftsman who developed a technique for making leather sculpture. Here it's goat skin, and he scrapes the skin to make it thin, then molds it with his hands using a pre-carved form. He makes these beautiful sculptures, very detailed.
And then you will see where to celebrate his 30 with women, mainly. So the one in the middle is very important to him. So with this one, he won an award.
I was especially impressed by these faces and this seahorse. We're on the way to Sancti Spiritus. This is a very flat land, old farmland. The city is cute, pretty buildings. It's very lively. A lot of people on the streets talking, arguing. We saw some interesting people on the street, and that one guy, yeah, him, I don't know who he is, but I like the statue. The Plaza Mercado selling agricultural products, corn, peppers, potatoes, pork, smoked pork. This artist uses solid wood doors that have been discarded and makes very realistic, three-dimensional wooden sculptures. He uses homemade tools. One of the men who has lived his entire life in this town created a hotel museum gathering place for local residents, especially children. He's very proud of his collection of town artifacts and has activities for local children. He's also created a small hotel mainly with recycled items, and this was intended to host Cubans visiting Remedios and charges affordable rates to attract them. He was likely paid by Rhodes Scholar to let us visit his interesting property, hear about his community, and be entertained by local musicians like these folks. This probably was a good source, or a very good source, of extra income for all involved. This is a choral group in Cienfuegos. It was organized by the young lady who's leading it. They're very spirited, enthusiastic. Cienfuegos now. Cienfuegos was founded by the French. It has colonial architecture, and it's a World Heritage Site. These souvenir stands were set up for tourists. They're selling all sorts of knickknacks, souvenirs. The people working here do so without close supervision. That means that their income is not closely monitored by the government. Papier-mâché.
No, indifferent.
Here we learned about cigar rolling, the wrapper, the filler, the binder, and we learned that the high cost of the cigar reflects the cost of the tobacco as well as the labor involved in making it. The town of Remedios is the 8th oldest in Cuba and is famous for its Christmas festival, Las Parrandas de Remedios. Parrandas take place at Christmas each year. Communities each take a year to build a big, colorful float and a standing display and explosive fireworks shows. This is a year-long effort with design competitions and actual building of the floats and thousands of fireworks. The town is divided into two teams, San Salvador and El Carmen. As judging is done by the noise made by each neighborhood, both neighborhoods always think they are the winner.
Necesitará para implementar una sola vez en la noche, porque el gasto de energía que hace, él gasta la corriente.
Homemade table saw. This is the substructure of one of the floats.
So welcome to Ernesto and Jenny's house. This is their home. This is where they live.
He inherited the property from his grandfather. He was deemed to be the most responsible. They're trying to make a place to live for themselves. This is a abandoned, it was at one time abandoned garage. And that's the baby's bed. They're both professionals. This is a dance lesson, and it's sort of self-explanatory. I think the fancy footwork is great, and the grace of the girls is wonderful. This is a community project organized by a local resident artist to provide a place for children to spend time after school and receive art education. Money and supplies are very limited, and this is another effort supported in part by the tour, Road Scholar, who might make a donation to allow their group to visit and meet with organizers and children. This was one of the projects that were provided with donations of art supplies by those on the tour. It also provides an opportunity for local artists to sell their paintings to tourists and is a major source of income for them. Note that this is a abandoned factory. It was a total wreck, the man asked the state for permission to do this, and he was given permission. And the place where the children are working is protected, but nothing else is. Well, we made it to Havana, and right away we noticed this great abundance of 1957 convertibles, which are now owned by taxi companies. They like the pink and the red. They're almost all convertibles, and they're mostly for tourists. They have a great ability to restore these cars.
Tiene la puerta abierta. No, Cuba. That's it. United Pieces, music, La Habana. Manzana Calpino. But now, it's impossible to restore. It's closed for many years. Many more.
This is a modern dance group. That was the director. They're interpreting jungle images, animals. They're very energetic. Very lively. And very interesting. This is the National Museum of Fine Arts. It's a beautiful building. It houses a good collection of Cuban art, modern art. We were able to visit the contemporary art section. There are other sections which cover the entire period of creativity in Cuba, starting in the 17th century.
This is inspired by a poet of Jose. And this is it was always
you where we meet.
See them.
Want to have you stand.
This is a print shop located off the main square of Havana. It's open to these professionals and lots of colorful work. We were fortunate to see the Buena Vista Social Club at the Hotel Nacional de Cuba. He was able to get everybody on their feet and dancing. There we go. This was the end to a great trip.